Adejisola Atiba. Miss Atiba is a people manager with RBC, that's the Royal Bank of Canada. She's a retail banking specialist. She's a coach, a mentor, and a community leader. She was a steering committee member of Federation of Black Canadians and co-founder of Black Empowerment Council of Canada. She's a volunteer with JA Central Ontario, United Way Canada, and also a mentor with Access Employment, and she's also an ambassador with Algoma University and founder of Council of Nigerian Professionals Incorporation, and that's the CNP, and the African Caribbean Council of Alton. Welcome, Ms. Atiba. You're welcome.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Atiba Connection, for this wonderful initiative. I'm just going to share my screen with you so I can talk to it. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about credit and savings, and I will be using some live examples. I know I have about 20 minutes, right? Is that correct?
About 15 to 20 minutes, yeah.
About 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, so I always like starting with God's word, but we can always look it up. Proverbs 27:17 talks about iron sharpening iron, and Ecclesiastes 10:10 talks about the importance of always sharpening our skills. And of course, Luke 14:20. We can always look all of these things up because what we're doing is actually scriptural. So I want to talk about credit. I've heard some of the speakers talk a little bit about credit. I remember when I came to Canada about almost 16 years ago, I was told that no credit means bad credit. And I told them I came from a culture where cash is king. If you have the money, you can do whatever you want. But apparently that's not the case in Canada. So it is important to maintain our credit. So some of the tips I have is, it's important to understand the credit solution that is good for you. When we're new to Canada, banks will give you a credit card. During my time, if you wanted a credit card, you have to put some money down. They call it secured credit. But these days, they give it to you. The banks have evolved because they know that as a permanent resident, you're here to stay. And they know that credit is everything in Canada, so they help you to start. And I've had a lot of people ask me why they're not giving us mortgage, why they're not giving us credit line. And that's because they don't know if you'll be able to manage it properly. And I will talk about the 5 C's of credit. So you need to set goals. Let's say you want to buy something. Don't bank on the credit that you have to buy what you want to buy. You need to save up to it. So what's your short, medium term goals? You need to know what you really want to do and see how you can actually save towards it. Budget and live within your means. It's important to know the difference between needs and wants. And cost of debt. Did you know that it actually costs a lot to actually manage debt? Those credit cards that we're talking about, it's 19.99 most of the time. And when you're spending those credit cards, it's important for you to look for a way out. How am I going to pay back? Do I even have the resources to pay back? If we don't, really, we shouldn't be spending it. Have a repayment plan and make sure that you pay the higher interest first. So 5 C's of credit talks to character. Character means, will they pay? Will you pay? Are you trustworthy? So when we're new to Canada, they don't have this information about us. And so the point is they rate us whether we're weak or we're strong. So when you're new to Canada, this is definitely weak for you. Capacity, can they pay? Meaning, do you have a stable income? And if you do, how are you spending it? So when we're new to Canada, again, we may not have jobs. And so again, this may be weak for us. Capital. Capital is what if they cannot pay? And capital talks about TDS, GDS. TDS is total debt servicing. GDS is gross debt servicing. So TDS should not be more than 40%, and TDS is 32%. I'll talk a little bit more about it. But basically what that means in layman's language is, for every dollar you're earning, you're spending 40 cents to service debts. Credit history, when we're new to Canada, we don't have that. And it's so important to maintain your credit. So you have a credit card, you have a car loan, you have credit line, you got to make sure you pay on time. Even if you know that you're going to be able to pay it up in a week after the date that is stipulated for you to pay, make sure you pay the minimum and then pay off when you have that resources. Collateral, what if they don't pay? And that's why it's so important to get a mortgage, because it's a secured lending. When it's collateral, it just makes life a lot easier. So all of this really talks about financial character. And financial character, again, I would say is, do we even know what our profile is, what our money profile is? Are we spenders? Are we savers? Who are we? Do we spend before we even earn? It's so important to know who you are, because when you know who you are, it's easy for you to, decide on ways to actually make changes if you feel there's a need to make changes to make it better. I actually had this emergency fund 52-week challenge thing because I had a question in another speaker series I did for another organization. And one of the questions that came was that, what if all the expenses on ground is too much? How do you start saving? And that's why
that's grandma's specialty.
And that's why I brought this 52-week challenge. I don't know if anybody has heard about it, but we have 52 weeks in a year.
No, I put it inside of.
You initiate your savings, to start your savings. Maybe you want to start with, if all this stress on ground is a lot, you want to start with $1 a week, and the next week you put $2, the next week you put $3, $4. Some people do 52 weeks in the first week, and then 50, 51, 50, and all that. So you can decide depending on your costs, depending on the expenses that you have, and start small. But if you're earning over 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, doing $1 is not going to cut it. You can do maybe $5 a week, 5, 10, 15, 20, and believe you me, it adds up. When you do $1 a week, it's actually, at the end of 52 weeks, it's about $1,378. If you do $5, it's about $6,800. You start with 5 and then you just increase it, 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on and so forth. If you do $10 in multiples of 10, you're talking about over 13,000. So basically what I'm saying is drops of water makes an ocean. So you need to decide the amount that you're comfortable to save. Don't think about, I'm just going to put 1,000 this week, and then you go back next week and take $980 out. You haven't saved anything. Look for, just take it in bite sizes. Can you afford $5 in multiples? Can you afford $2 in multiples? $3, depending on yourself. What's your current work situation? What's your financial responsibility? That will determine what you should do. And a lot of people have asked, what should I have for emergency fund? Most people will tell you 3 to 6 months is fine. COVID-19 has made us realize that it's important for us to have a savings service. We are blessed. We live in Canada. The government cares about us. I mean, everybody that needs support is getting it one way or the other. So many countries are not like that. So even in spite of that, we should still have that savings habit. Retirement savings really depends on your lifestyle. It's not a cookie cutter approach, but we do need to save for retirement, because whether we like it or not, there's going to be a time where we're going to just hands down, the pen's going to go down, and we got to take care of ourselves. It's not necessarily about age. It's about, stopping the 9 to 5 and doing something that you love to do. So when you're saving for retirement, you need to think about, what is your lifestyle? If you're earning 60,000 now, how much do I want to earn when I retire? If you're earning 100,000 now, how much do I want to earn when I retire? So you really need to understand your lifestyle. You need to understand, how you want to live your retirement. Do you want to stay on the same, the way you're living right now? Or do you want to leave it up? Or you're just going to coast along? So all that would actually determine how you're going to save for retirement. And we're saving, make sure you put money in tax advantage retirement accounts. And then you have to make sure that you're well invested, because again, we have short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Long-term will be your retirement. If you want to buy a car, don't put money in tax advantage account, at least not RSP, for sure. So consider your retirement expenses, incomes that you need. And believe me, a lot of people will say, it's a long time, I can't. No, yes, you can. You can budget based on your lifestyle right now. You can think about what your retirement will look like. So 5 principles on how to invest. It's so important to start early. There was a question I actually answered on Instagram. A 23-year-old earning 60,000 is asking, aren't I too young to invest? No, you're not. No, you're not. The earlier you start investing, the better for you. The better to actually retire. As a 23-year-old, let's say you want to retire at 60, you have a lot of years. And time is so important. For me, if I wanted to retire at 60, I have very few years to get to 60 now. So, you are going to be better placed, and then there's something called compounding effect. During COVID, March, most of the shares actually fell. So RBC, I think it was about maybe 78. Now it's back to 100 and something. So imagine you investing early, and of course, investing regularly, you're actually taking advantage of the lower price, the medium price, the high price. By the time you average it out, it's actually a great price for you. Investing regularly is so important. Don't time the market. Don't wait for the market to fall or rise. A lot of people tend to sell when the market is down, and they go back into the market when it's high. You can't do that. Don't invest with emotions. And that's why I will stop here and quickly say, please work with a financial advisor or a banking advisor, whatever they call them in the bank that you use. Look for them, work with them, let them advise you. We don't know it all. We don't know it all. That's why the division of labor is there. We need to work with specialists to educate us, to support us. Invest enough. What are you saving for? Is it short term? Do you want to buy a car? How much does a car cost? You want to know the cost. You want to know what your goal, what your end goal is. And if it's for retirement, I already said it. Think about it. If you're earning 100,000 now, you can't say, oh, when I retire, I want to earn $1 million. It's not going to happen. But you can decide and say, maybe 100,000, maybe 80. So you got to save it up. So what is your goal? What are you saving for? Diversify. You need, if it's a long-term investment, you have to make sure you're diversified. Diversify means you have different asset class in your investment. So is it bonds? Is it equity? Is it mutual funds? Whatever. Is it real estate? You want to make sure you have a mixed bag. But if it is for short time, you shouldn't be playing with the market. Have a plan. It's important to have a plan. You know, again, like I said, don't invest with emotions. You know, markets will always go up and down. It's the same thing as life. Life is never on a straight journey. It always goes up and down. So let somebody help you make those investments if you're not a specialist in it. So RSP and TFSA. So most people use RSP for their retirement. RSP, some of the advantages is that whatever money you put in RSP actually reduces your income, your taxable income. Now, you can't put all your income in RSP all because you don't want to save on taxes. I always tell people that I love to pay taxes in Canada. And I'll say it over and over again because I see my taxpayers' money working for me, but I don't want to pay more than I should pay. That's why I will invest in a place like RSP. So let's say you earn 50,000. The government says you can actually save 18% of your income. So we're all different. Some of us have group RSP at work. Some of us have pension at work. So it has to be 18% of everything, your pension, your RSP at work included. So you need to know, your own situation, because if you over contribute to RSP, there's penalty to it. But what else can you use RSP for? Let's say you want to buy a house and you're buying it for the first time. You can actually take money out tax-free from the RSP. Let's say you like going to school like me. For lifelong learning, you can actually take money out from RSP tax-free. Let's say we want to remodel a house just because we have a physically challenged child or neighbor or grandparent or somebody we're doing it for some reason. You can take money out of RSP to pay your house again, even if you just sold that house a year. Normally after, I believe it's 5 years, I'm not sure now, don't quote me, but I think if you haven't had a house, even if you've used the first time home buyers for the first time, and you sold your house and you haven't bought in 5 or 7 years, you can actually use the first time home buyers again. So those are the benefits of RSP. But the most important thing is the government actually wants it to be supplemental income for you during retirement. And so you putting money in RSP, even when you take it out for first time home buyer or you take it out for lifelong learning, the government still expects you to pay back. But it's paid back in such a way that it doesn't really stress you. So let's say for first-time home buyers, for instance, you can pay it back over 25 years, which is really amazing. You only get to pay maybe $1,000+ back a year. Tax-free savings account. This was actually introduced in 2009. That was after the recession of 2008, because a lot of people packed their money on the side, and the government want people to get back into investing. And so if you're 18 and above, income is no barrier. Your parents, your grandparents can give you money and you can actually invest in tax-free savings account. There is a limit for tax-free also. If you go above, there is penalty. Now, when you put money in tax-free savings account, the money you're putting into the tax-free is already taxed. So the only thing that is tax-free there is the income that you're earning. So let's say you're lucky, you invest in stocks and you're able to make a lot of money, that interest is not taxable to you. And for either RSP or TFSA, you can invest in different vehicles. Like I said, you can do GIC, guaranteed investment, you can do stocks, you can do mutual funds, you can do bonds, you can do anything depending on your risk appetite. Again, we're all different. Whenever somebody is investing, most of the things that your advisor will look at is what's your time frame, what's your risk appetite, why are you investing, what's your investment profile. So they'll need to talk through all that, get to understand you and help you make that investment. The difference between TFSA and RSP, I think I kind of alluded to it. TFSA contribution is not deductible for income. Growth within it is tax-free. When you contribute to TFSA, you've already paid tax. And some people actually use TFSA to supplement their retirement income just because they've maxed out their RSP. For RSP, the contribution is tax deductible. You have to have earned income for you to be able to invest in RSP. The money you withdraw from RSP is taxable. I've had a lot of people say RSP is not good. And it's because they feel that when they retire, maybe at 60, 65, the grants that the government will give them, they would not qualify for it. Again, we're all very different. Just so you know, statistics as of today, it's about 8% of retirees that actually earn over 100,000 in retirement pre-tax, just 8%, and that's Statistics Canada. So, because it doesn't matter what you're earning, if you're not saving towards your retirement, when we retire, income actually goes down. That's basically it. So if you're not saving, if you're not projecting forward to say, this is the kind of lifestyle I want to have, it may not happen. So if you don't earn over 100,000, actually, I think it's about 120 something thousand, the government, you still get all the grants that the government wants to give you. Now, when we're retired, what are the grants that we're even talking about? We're talking about old age security. Old age security is just about $600 and something a month. And CPP, you got to invest in it. You got to put money in it for you to get it back. So if you did not work in Canada, it means you did not contribute to CPP. CPP is Canada Pension Plan. So if you didn't contribute to it, you won't get it. Old age, we don't contribute to it. The government gives it to us based on our income. And so if your income is under 100,000, under 120,000, you will still get 600 and something from the government. So those are the monies that people are talking about. And there's another one they call GIS, Guaranteed Income Supplement. You really don't want to be there. You will get that when you're earning like under 20,000. I don't want to earn 20,000 in retirement. What's that going to do for me? And that's why having a goal and planning is really, really important. So I have some appendices. So TDS and GDS. What is used to actually calculate GDS? So for your GDS, your gross debt servicing, which is about 32%, it is your annual mortgage payment, principal and interest, property tax, condominium fee if it's a condo, annual cost divided by your gross annual income. That is your GDS. Like I said, it shouldn't be more than 32%. And for TDS, all of that plus all the other regular debts that you have, like your credit card, your credit line, your car loan, that is what is used to calculate TDS. Now, what is the income that is used to actually calculate this money? So let's say you're a seasonal worker. That is income to calculate your TDS, GDS. If you're a full-time worker, that's money that can be used. Employment really depends on the kind of employment that you have. And of course, spousal income is also used to calculate TDS and GDS. This is just to show you what it looks like if you're invested in the market. Now, again, for you to invest in the market, you have to have the right risk appetite. You have to have the time frame. So what you're looking at is somebody that invested 2000. Yeah, 2000 seems like yesterday, but it's actually almost 21 years now. But somebody that invested 10,000, and because life is never a straight journey with all the ups and the downs and the swings and the right and everything, that person is actually at 33,000 right now, just with 10,000. So you can imagine if that person put 10,000 and starts investing regularly, maybe $100, maybe $200 on top of that, you can imagine where this person is going to be. So consistency matters. And this is just putting it in terms of the time that we have in the market. So if you're investing for 5 years, $50, for 5 years, this is what it looks like. If you're doing if you have 10 years to invest $50, this is what it looks like. So you can imagine if you have 20 years and you're doing $100, the difference is, sorry, my buttery finger. The difference is so much if you have the time to invest. It's always, always important to start like now. I always tell people the best time to actually start investing is yesterday. The next best time, guess what, is today. So if you haven't started, no problem, try and start something. And whether it's $1 that suits your need, whether it's $2 or $3 a week that helps you to even start the process, just do something. So in summary, what have I talked about? I talked about credit and I talked about savings and investment. I know questions is after everybody has spoken, but thank you so much for having me. I hope I've been able to add a little value to you tonight. Thank you, Atiba. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Whoa, that was information compressed. That was a lot of information.